Initially, I'm going to talk through some of the change management processes and aspects of our role, and basically managing the process of change within the business. Obviously, number one, constraints in realising the goals. There are a number of things a business or organisation should do before the first nugget of data, before we look at all this information, making sure that we've got the key stakeholders involved, and making sure that key processes are ready to be changed, and understanding what the priority objectives are. I've put here, if a business isn't ready to change, then it may all be over before it's begun. Now, I'm going to be stating some of the obvious, well, I think some of the obvious here, but often some of the stuff I'm going to talk about is not actually seen in reality. A simple illustration, but important to highlight the key areas. Easily discussed, I find, but not always thought through and executed properly. I've just put this in simple levels. So at top level, depot level engagement. Now this might seem obvious, but making sure that any of the parameters that you go through are discussed in detail. Everybody clearly understands what the parameters are. And then more importantly, making sure that that process change is discussed, understanding the areas within the business that are going to be changed, and that everybody is aware of what the plans are going forward. Another really, really important factor is administration, so system administration. Making sure that a new business process owner is available, and actually a system owner as well. From experience, many times I've seen it where there isn't a system owner, and various roles get spread out throughout the change, and actually not always covered in the right level of detail. Another really important factor, depot management. As with another slide I'll go through shortly, making sure that there's a champion, system champion, fuel champion, somebody that is there at site level that can take that ownership. And then obviously not forgetting driver engagement as well. Making sure that training is clear, training is laid out, and obviously training is not just a one-off subject either, that continually needs to be done, and making sure that we have clear briefings. Now, whether that's information put up in the transport offices or in the operations, or handouts, making sure that information is given out, and really being clear on the communication to make sure everybody understands what needs to be achieved and what the project aims are. And then going forward, making sure we have a plan to review, and learning best practice, which is not often always the case. So from the top level, change senior management. The change process must be important to the business leaders. Again, stating the obvious, to make sure that others to take change to process seriously. So I suppose it's that having that top level of buy-in to start off with, and make sure that's fed down. Depot site management. So depot and sites, exceptionally busy places, as we all know. And so the knowledge of potential benefits will help them to give priority to the new changes. So it's really getting those people engaged. And I suppose it's all about communication. Again, I feel like I'm stating some of the obvious, but it is really, really important and vital to the whole process. And as I've put there, the business has no doubt been operating successfully with driver trainers, already teaching fuel economy and safety techniques. Trainers need to understand the new systems are not a threat. So a good example of that, a week ago with a customer of ours, I spent a whole day with driver trainers and driver assessors from all around the country. They meet once a month, and getting to people and seeing people at that level and going through how everything's set up, how the system works, and actually coming away from the day with no questions and everybody with a smile on their face, and actually having that engagement seems to have actually worked wonders. And then again, drivers. So initially they might see this as interference, but it's actually making sure that the information, again, and it's the same with the operational teams as well as the drivers, it's making sure they understand exactly what they're being monitored on, exactly how the vehicles are working, what the parameters are, before they start to be engaged with. And then that should hopefully make a lot smoother process. Now that could be by using the app, using our reports, and we'll come on to daily, weekly and monthly procedures very shortly. I wasn't going to put this up to start with. It's a very, very simple slide. But the reason why I did is having the fuel champion information there. The Microlise benefit support and guidance, there's a team of 3 of us. And we go around and we support the customers, and there's many people here that I've already engaged with today who have currently worked with. And then underneath, you've got the Depo Manager, and the key bit there is the fuel champion. Really, really important. Doesn't happen very often, which sometimes makes the journey a little more difficult. Shift managers, again, same level of process, same level of engagement and information. And then, as I've just mentioned, with the driver trainers as well. So focusing on priorities. So focus on well thought out processes, making sure that everybody is aware of what those processes are, buying at all the levels, so the different levels of people that I've spoken about so far. Make sure that existing business processes need to be reviewed and decide how they're going to change. Make sure everybody is crystal clear on that. Procedure design, role definition, and obviously communication. Again, I feel like I'm stating the obvious with some of these. Define how the system will be used, what procedures need to be laid out, what need modifying, and most importantly is roles. Making sure that everybody is understood what their role is within the whole process, and that's not actually just from the change, that's actually going forward with the use of the system as well. Make sure that people have the right access levels, clear and concise, so that people know what they're doing and have all of this mapped out in the processes. I've already mentioned easy to read handouts, but even to the point of posters, any information that describes any of the change elements, especially with the system-related information. And some of the work we've done with the customers, with drivers, where we've had posters on the walls, explaining how idling works, explaining how green band driving works, and hopefully just giving that extra edge for when people, because people will forget, and it's that refresher of when they come into the transport offices or they come into the sites, they can see this information, and it's just a refresher for them. And then obviously, hopefully that'll impact when debrief is taking place, and that everybody is aware of what they're being monitored on. I've put there a training schedule. We assist with the training, but there needs to be an ongoing process. And this isn't just a system operational level. This is driver training. Obviously, driver training, as some of you will know, that's an ongoing process. It's very, very easy to implement this and take the foot off the gas and then find that things just gradually start to dwindle away. And as I said earlier, it's not a one-off area, one-off activity. And again, vitally important, communication at all levels within the operation. So that's driver level, operator level, and senior management level. And then obviously filtered down from the very top. So ensuring utilisation. So now the system's in place. We can start to see all the harsh brakes. We can start to see how people are using cruise control. All of these elements, where the harsh cornering is taking effect, where speeding is happening, making sure that we isolate any drivers who are performing particularly bad. But the key bit here also as well is making sure that the guys are at the top end, making sure that we don't forget those. Making sure that we bring them into the fold and that we feed back on how they're performing as well, not just focusing on the not so good guys. And I've put highlighted in bold there, with all this data, it's important to remember the business objectives. Very, very easy to start off knowing what the objectives are, and then actually through the rollout, busy operations, busy places, that actually those objectives can gradually get lost. Now, throughout all of this process, I mentioned us as a team earlier on, we will be around to support yourselves. And actually, once you go as business as usual, we continue to support as well. Hopefully after a while, gradually starting to kind of back off a little bit. But we are always there to go back over the information and go back over the data whenever it's required. So sustaining the effort. So all what I've said so far, hopefully really, really makes sense. Ongoing effort must be spent to make sure that all of this is embedded, all of these new processes, And again, you know, some of this might sound fairly obvious, but really, really vitally important. Ensure any daily processes are adhered to from the start. Information generated, used effectively, in line with what the business objectives were. So, did we agree these parameters we were going to use to start with? Great. If we were, we're going to stick with those, not move the goalposts. Let's make sure that everybody understands that, everybody's clear. Run the daily performance reports. Flag any issues that need to be addressed. And as I've already said, praise improvement. And I think that's one thing that quite easily gets lost as well. And then log any discussions if that's the way that you decide that you want to run with it. Again, weekly processes. Slightly different reports. Produce weekly league tables. Subscribe to the reports so that they come out every week. People don't have to go into the system, don't have to run the reports. Automatically there in your mailbox. Saves you a job first thing on a Monday morning. Goes to the right people. Just makes the process really easy to use. And then I suppose reviewing quick wins against any targets, which is always a great one for us. Again, this weekly process, very similar to the daily process. Identify any drivers that require the discussions or any training that needs required. And log any discussions and conduct that training. And again, through all of this, to start off with, us as a team will help you understand the frequency of the reports, what reports to use, when best to use them, what information to use. And then monthly, reviewing trends. Making sure that actually we review performance. Some people debrief daily, operations allow for that, others not because of resource levels and the business of the operation. Making sure that if there's any rewards that can be given out, identify any rewards, and then obviously disciplinary action if required. And again, we would help you with the frequency and the reports. There's a big report suite that we do. So conclusion. Technology can't deliver business benefits alone. Hopefully we all know that. It's a great bit of technology, but actually it needs to be driven by yourselves as well. It cannot just be put in and run and then the benefits generated just by using the system on its own. It needs to be pushed. The processes have been through today. Make sure everybody is trained. Make sure the communication is clear before the system started to use. And then basically, I've put it needs to be seamlessly dovetailed with any procedures. Absolutely key. Needs to be integrated with the operation. So I put there that we have a team of business benefit managers, and 3 of us are here today, and more than happy to spend any time after the session, or if there's any questions, to sit and go through, and if there's any future meetings that need to be tied up, more than happy to support. And what we also do is we'll assess any of the new releases, and we'll work with yourselves. So when you get a new release, before you get a new release, make sure you understand how the new functions work and help you embed that into the operation as well. Well, hopefully everybody that's been okay. Thank you for your time. Appreciate that. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.